this enchanted lullaby.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is, and each person should find that truth out for his or herself.
This enchanted lullaby. This enchanted lullaby.
You know what? Global family, look in the mirror. I want you to take a good look. You are the champion, the hero of your story. No matter how much praise you may give some of us who may help you on this journey, it is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Tony, again, I give you accolades for, I don't even know what to say, for all the efforts, man, that you put in my behalf.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is.
It is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Person should find that truth out for his or herself.
To help you see.
For his or herself.
All right, everyone. Greetings. Greetings. So, mic here. Make sure my mic is on so you can hear me loud and clear. I hope all of you are doing well within your space and time. Of course, I mentioned time. There's only 1,440 minutes in a day. No matter what your belief system is or who you may pray to, you're not going to get even 1 minute more added to your life. So use your time wisely. Tonight's is not the typical podcast that we do, which is Metaphysic Speaks. Instead, tonight we will be going over some of the footage from the Illinois Project Etheric atmospheric balloon launch. Okay, so you're gonna see quite a few different things, but this was an interesting experience from beginning all the way to the end. And so, of course, I have my beverage of choice. I hope that you have yours. My beverage tonight, let's see here. Clicking on a few different things here. My beverage tonight is some Rubus tea. Psych.
Got him! Got him!
My beverage tonight is really some chamomile tea. All right, it's a relaxing night here in Chicagoland. It's been another really hot day. It's been sunny. And so even though we have all this chaos and things going on around us, it was a sunny, nice day today, hot, exactly what you would want during the summertime. So on this relaxing evening, my beverage tonight is some chamomile tea. So I hope that you have your chamomile, well, your beverage of choice, not necessarily caramel, but your beverage of choice. And as you see here on the screen, you see the Project Etheric mug. Okay, so hopefully, many of you have been supporting the project. You do have your Project Etheric mug. It will go perfect with your beverage. So, so before we actually begin here, you're going to see on the screen in the chat room, there's a Zoom URL with a meeting ID and also a phone number. If you, during this review today, if you have a comment that you would like to make or a question that you would like to put forth, and you rather say it verbally instead of typing it out in the chat room, you can either link on via the Zoom, or you can call that number. And toward the end of the show, you know, I will answer those comments and questions that you may have. So let's continue on here. Yep, and so I hope, again, I hope everyone is doing well within your space and time. Of course, all of us here appreciate your continued patronage. This has been a really interesting week. Many of you know, I'm not going to go into it now, but many of you do know what happened over the last few days with YouTube and stuff. So it's been an interesting week, but of course we're here. It's going to happen anyhow. So let me pull up my screen here because I have a little bit of a story to tell you. So on the screen here, you should see a candle. So let's see. So the story is as follows. This is a bit of metaphysical lore, okay, myth and such, for such a grand metaphysical audience that we have here tonight. Because you could be doing anything right now, right? It's a Saturday night. People have been cramped in the house. There's a whole lot going on. And yet you're here sharing this space and time with me and the other family members of the Metaphysical Meta Center family. So give yourself even a hand clap for that, because it could be all types of things going on, but you are here. So let's do that. Okay, well. Oh, there you go. Cool. Okay, so the fire that you actually see in front of you on the screen has been said to be a gift from the Titan Prometheus. For those who don't know, there are levels to, just like we talk about the levels of the heavens and so on and so forth, but there are, let's say, at least in myth and metaphysical lore, there's gods and lesser gods and those who are above gods and all this and everything else. So if you are familiar at all with Greek mythology and even Egyptian mythology, it's very similar, okay? So there was a Titan, okay, named Prometheus. And this Titan named Prometheus gave humanity a gift that he stole from the gods. This gift was held on by the gods because they were terrified of what we may do if it were to fall into these animal-like creatures' hands, so they kept it to themselves. When Prometheus was caught and brought to justice for his theft, the gods were quite angry. They were insatiable in their anger and lust for anger to punish Prometheus for his act of stealing this fire. You might say that they overreacted quite a bit because they tied him to a rock and they let this, let's say to us, it would be more like a godlike creature. It was an eagle that every day and every night, it just ripped at his stomach and ate his liver every single day. Okay, that was his punishment for stealing this fire for infinity. Okay, all because he gave humans fire, which some could say was the spark of many avenues to come, right? It could be even looked at as a technology. This is fire, right? This fire is allegory for knowledge. This is what separates humans, or at least some humans, from what we call animals, is that ability to not only think, but to solve, and the godlike ability to create. So it's of utmost importance for those who are above, who are using that fire of their mind, okay, who are above. You're not a, you know, a animal that's acting human. You are a human, okay? And it is of utmost importance that you use this fire, because as we see around us, all type of things are going on. We see all of us have social media. We have, you know, and we see the crazy behavior people are doing, you know, whether you're in restaurants and people are eating there, trying to relax with their families, and people just start acting extremely animalistic, okay? So it's up to you to use that fire, that knowledge, it was a great sacrifice for us to have. So let's continue on here. So first, what we're going to start here, we're going to start with the footage. You should see here on the screen now footage of pretty much putting together some of the wires to connect some devices that had to be done on the spot at the launch location, okay? And so there's lots of equipment that you're gonna see in some of this footage and everything else, but this stuff is, again, as many of you know by now, but if you do not know, these experiments cost thousands of dollars, okay? And a lot of times, either myself or the core members of the Meta Center community put forth from our own funds to fund these projects. It's not just to see, it's not just for fun. We don't do things a lot of times just for fun. Now it's fun while we're doing it, but we just don't do it for fun, okay? It's to actually observe, it's to actually get all different types of data, where in this case, as you're seeing here on the screen, is you know, we're putting this together here, but it is audio, video amongst, in that box there's quite a bit of instruments that were recording all different types of information that in the upper atmosphere, okay, whether it be barometric pressure, whether it be wind speed, of course, the height that the payload went. Of course, payload is another term for the equipment. Okay, on the box there itself, what you see is 3 GoPro cameras. Okay, one is pointing at the Earth, one is pointing at the horizon, and another one will be pointing at the sky. There's also all types of recorders on it, actually audio recorders. It's just all types of equipment on this box. This is a bit of a footage here that you see from the actual location we're at. It was an absolutely beautiful day. Okay, the sun was shining, and when we got close to actually the launch time, the sun beamed down. It went up like 20 degrees. It went from about 84, 85 to almost 100. Okay, the sun was shining quite bright on us as it seemed across space and time, because many of you knew this was taking place. It was reflected in the magnitude of the sun rays on our head and neck and everything else. So at this point here, what you see is one of the Meta Center members, Maurice. He's holding the balloon that is being filled up with helium. Okay, you see him there, slowly becoming much more. So we're not going to jump ahead here. I'm going to let the video go, and I'll just talk as I go along here, as I go along. So all right, so you see I'm filling it up here. Just so you know, the lady you see there, that's Miss Blair. Miss Blair was Dr. Blair's secretary for even before I even came around. Okay, so she always comes, and also Mr. Blair, who is her Mr. Blair, is actually kind of there in the background as well. They always support so many of the people that were from years ago come around and support at these events as well. And so Maurice there is holding it. He had mentioned, see, right now it's easy to hold, right? But at a certain point, you're going to see how large the balloon gets. And the balloon, of course, wants to go up in the sky, right? And so his whole forearms at the end were quite red because he had to use a lot of his strength to keep this balloon on the ground. Now, for the Georgia launch, if with you all's participation, whether it be physically, financially, with the GoFundMe, etc., we're going to do a balloon double this size. And so we're actually going to have to rent or purchase some other equipment to actually be able to hold this balloon down. Okay, that size of a balloon would lift a man off the earth. Okay, so let's see here. So the helium, this so you all can get some idea of cost. The helium by itself was close to $300. Okay, for this balloon. Double this size, you're talking around $600 in Arizona, which would be mid-October. That one would be pretty much close to $900 to $1,200 just for the helium. Okay, so that doesn't include the balloons itself. That doesn't include all the other equipment that is needed to successfully have a launch. And as you see here, because we do things the proper way, this launch went 100% successful. Okay, so you're going to see here, of course, he's filling up the balloon still here. And just so you know as well, okay, so we had to end up adding much more air to the balloon than we thought. And the reason why is because when you actually measure the payload or the equipment, you have to measure to the exact gram. And because when I was putting this together late the previous evening, I didn't tape everything down and I didn't clip certain things, and I didn't, there's little pieces of equipment here and there I didn't add on top, and all of that actually matters, okay? So the calculations I had were for just what I had on top of it that night, but we end up adding pretty much probably about a few more ounces of weight to it in the end, okay? And so because of that, that means you need much more helium to get the payload or the equipment off the ground. And so it was just quite a bit of helium we had to use. When it can be calculated to a point where the area of where the payload will fall back to Earth at, we calculated to be around 15 miles radius, okay? I'm actually going to show a picture here momentarily as this is going on. So we estimated about 15 miles radius. But since we added so much more helium, it could go much further, but not just that. There are jet streams above us. And hopefully, there's no way to predict this, okay? Hopefully, when you set up this balloon, that it won't get caught in a jet stream. Unfortunately, it did, okay? And you're gonna see in a bit what ended up happening. But it ended up getting caught in a jet stream. And when it gets caught in a jet stream, it could end up taking the balloon an extra few miles or hundreds of miles in a different direction, okay? That's why you have to be very careful with that. So I'm actually here while the footage is going for you all. I'm actually looking for the radius picture so you all can see. All right, so what you see there on the screen is the radius of where it could possibly have landed at if it didn't get caught in the jet stream, and if it didn't have to take so much helium as well, okay? And so we were in New Lenox, okay? The area we were in where we did the launch is New Lenox, which you see next to that word Joliet there, okay? And so this is the general radius where the balloon could have landed, but it ended up landing a few hours away. So literally, what you're going to see here momentarily I had to end up driving a few hours to get the payload. Again, payload is equipment. Okay, so I had to drive a few hours to go get the equipment. So that was interesting in itself. Okay, so now what you're about to see is the camera footage for the actual launch itself. You're going to see it from the 3 different cameras. You're going to see the sky camera, the earth camera, and the horizon camera. Okay, so as you see, this was a 100% success. It was because obviously we have the footage. So you know, we've been doing at this point experiments, public and private, for years now. And so hopefully for those who have not joined in with us or who may be apprehensive, one for one reason or another, you know, hopefully one day you will co-create. So as you see here, you see the 3 different camera angles. You see again the sky camera, the earth camera, and the horizon. At first here, as it's going up to the sky, it's hitting a lot of turbulence. The moving around of the balloon that you see is the same or similar turbulence that you will see or that you will feel in an aircraft. Okay, so it's going up here. Now, just so you know, for information purposes, this balloon launch went to about 30 miles above us, okay? 30 miles above us. Airplanes, so when you go in the airplane, many people who have flew before, you know that you have heard the airplane say 30,000 feet, right? We are now coasting, or we are now at 30,000 feet, and they stay at that until it comes back down, right? 30,000 feet is only around 5.5 miles in the air, okay? 30,000 feet is around 5.5 miles in the air. The atmospheric balloon went to approximately 30 miles in the air, okay? So as you see here, it's continuing to go up. Now, some of you may be wondering, with this gold-like star-like thing floating around there, that is actually a radar deflector, okay? When we do these things, of course, I've been into science and research and everything else for decades at this point, and any type of research I do, especially if it deals with chemistry or certain aspects of biology or even certain electronic projects, safety first, okay? Safety first. So whether you're wearing goggles or you got, of course, gloves going up to the elbows, the whole 9 yards. So what you see here is that is a radar deflector. And so as the airplanes, helicopters, everything else above us, they have beacons that are going out that lets them know if something's around that they cannot even see, okay? And so as the radar beacons are going out, it will hit this and deflect back to them. They may not know that it's a atmospheric balloon, but they will know that it's something there that they need to avoid, okay? So this is looking out for people because you don't want anything crazy happening, okay? Because something crazy could actually happen. So you don't want that at all. So safety first. And so as it goes up higher and higher, the footage itself is about 2.5, 3 hours long, okay? Of course, all that footage is not going to be shown tonight, okay? Only maybe about 40, let's see here, 15, about 35 to 40 minutes of footage is going to be shown, okay? So it has been cut up quite a bit. Also, for those who are watching, especially you all who have been contributing to projectetheric.com, okay? Projectetheric.com, for you all who have been personally, you know, not only knowing how important we are to the community, but also these projects that we're taking on that no one else is doing. You see the importance of it. And not only that, you see the importance of it to come out your pocket and even to donate 15 bucks, 20 bucks, $10, okay, or much more. So because of your patronage, there's certain aspects of this footage that are not going to be shown. that I'm going to be doing an event. I'm kind of meditating on when that event will be at this point. I'm thinking maybe around 6 months from now, maybe before, maybe a little after, but I will let the community know. And I implore you to be there, because it won't be just be about this, okay? But you're going to see footage that you're not going to see anywhere else. And I think it's really important for you all to see this footage, okay? What will not be shown here publicly. And then, of course, that event also would get into other things like the astrology aspect too, which I mentioned on the other podcast, that will show you exactly why you act the way you act, okay? What house you are from, and really how to maneuver within your energy that the Creator has created you to be, okay? And so that would be a really important event. And again, that would be announced on the website sooner or later. So stay tuned to that. So as you see here, it's going up above the earth. It's still going up there. You see the different angles. The sky cam doesn't really show a whole lot, because you're just seeing it go up to the sky, and it's not really any details you can see except the sun that it goes past every once in a while. But still, we want to show all of the different angles so you can see these things with your own eyes. While you're watching this here, let me know in the chat room if you're finding this interesting at all. Okay, if you're finding this interesting, hit 1. Okay, send a 1 in the chat room if you're finding this interesting at all. Again, if you're finding this interesting at all, hit 1 in the chat room to let not only the audience know, but also let me know. Okay, so as you see here, it is still going up higher and higher. Now again, it ascended for over an hour and a half. It's going close to 30 miles up. And what's quite interesting too, when the balloon is let go, when we're on the Earth, I mean, that bad boy goes, it goes straight up like really fast, And this particular project was a new project for me as well. So it was very exciting to be a part of this. Hey, Maurice, if you are listening to the podcast, and Maurice is the one who joined in to be there. He was the one holding the balloon and helping with getting all together that day on the 31st. If you're here in the listening, can you call into the Zoom chat? Okay, so if you're here listening, call into the Zoom chat. As you see, it's going higher and higher. Now, especially you all don't want to miss this footage you're going to see of what happens once it lands. Okay, but we'll get to that momentarily. So you see it's still going higher. This was wonderful, you all. I'm over here just cheesing from ear to ear. Okay. Yeah, so you see it's still going up there. Now, as it gets higher and higher, it starts to spin less and less, and some of that actual footage you will see. And then it comes to a point where it practically stops, okay? And that footage will be for those who who actually like this project and who have been, funding the project, okay? Because one thing is to say you enjoy the project, but one thing is to come out your pocket for it. that says a lot. Okay, even if it's only $10. Okay, that still helps out dramatically because a lot of many $10 adds up. So again, projectetheric.com, because remember, we have 2 more launches. Okay, and ideally each launch we want to go double the size. Okay, which means that the balloon will go even higher. Okay, now just for information purposes, just so you all know, when these balloons go up, it can take a while for it to potentially come back down. So of course the footage is skipping, of course. This footage has been cut up quite a bit because remember it's quite a few hours of footage. So now it jumped to it being even quite a bit more higher in the sky. Okay, so you're looking at the Earth there. Yeah, look at all the ones in the chat room. Absolutely awesome. I'm glad that you all are enjoying this. So again, I'm going to keep mentioning projectetheric.com. Tell your friends, tell your family, invite them to see the footage so that they themselves can see something that's going on. Of course, hopefully some of you all will come out to the Georgia event, which will be announced. The exact date will be announced sometime maybe later this month. And the Georgia event, we're aiming for late September. And ideally, again, we want to do a balloon double this size. That balloon itself, the quality, you want a quality balloon. Now, it skipped ahead, the balloon bust, okay? So it went all the way up where it needed to go. It then eventually busts. That's what it's supposed to do. And then it comes down. So this is at about the halfway point in coming down, okay? This is where this footage started. And so, as you see there, that orange-like, you see the white balloon, you see that little orange reddish kind of ball. That's actually a parachute, okay? And so the parachute is binded with this electronic device that is going to release the parachute when it gets to a certain altitude by design, okay? But the problem that ended up happening is that you see it spins so much, right? I didn't really expect that, okay? That's something I didn't even think of, right? I was so trying to make sure everything else was in tune that that's something I looked over. And because it spins so much at around 4,000 feet, that is when the parachute is going to deploy by design, okay? That's the way I designed it to deploy at 4,000 feet so that it can come pretty much straight down. It doesn't glide. So for example, all the way up in the upper stratosphere, if right when the balloon busts, if the parachute would have deployed then, it can glide for hundreds of miles in different directions. So because I didn't want that to happen at all, because I mean, for example, if it ended up in Arkansas or ended up in Kentucky, I would have had to drive there to get it. Okay, so this equipment was expensive, so I would have to drive there. And so this allows it to come straight down, and at 4,000 feet or so, it would deploy, and it would pretty much just slow it down enough where it won't hit the ground and break, okay, or harm someone. So now, but the problem happened, as you're going to see eventually here, it's going to deploy, but it's so tangled up, it didn't deploy 100%. It only deployed maybe around 30–40%. So it slowed it down a little bit, but it still hit a little too fast. But still, when you're going to see me go into the cornfield and retrieve it, it was 100% intact. Nothing was missing. Everything was there exactly the way it should be. So that was fantastic. So of course, right now on the screen, what you see is only 2 cameras. You don't see the horizon camera because for some reason, after the balloon had burst in the upper stratosphere, even though the horizon camera had battery footage, it had tons of battery left, just like the Earth and Skywind did. They all had exactly the same camera. They all have the extended batteries to it, the whole 9 yards. But it seemed like something maybe hit the button or something that ended up turning it off. Okay, so, and that was unfortunate because even though the footage would have been shaky and stuff, I still wanted all the cameras to record the entire time. So that will be fixed on the next go up. So as you see there, the parachute has now deployed, but it only deployed about 30–40%. The parachute is much bigger than that, what you see there on the screen. And as you see, it's going to Earth fast. It may not look like it, but those are cornfields, and that is corn down there. It may look like a flat surface, but it's not at all. So what ended up happening is that it ended up going over 83 miles away. So it ended up, we're in Illinois, okay? And we were in the western suburbs of Illinois, the southwestern suburbs. It ended up, again, over 83 miles away in the middle of Indiana, the state of Indiana, okay? And again, it's your equipment. I mean, you got to get it, okay? And remember, there's no way to predict where it's going to land. It can land, again, in a cornfield. It can land in a swamp. It can land in the ocean. It can land in a lake. Okay, it can land at the top of a tree. It can land in an urban area. It can land on a. So now the next footage you're going to see here is the footage of me walking through the cornfield to retrieve it. Okay, I had to, again, it was kind of worrying at first because the different devices we had on it, it was supposed to pretty much ping us at a certain point, and it didn't. Okay, and I kept looking at the different devices that we have, and it was supposed to ping, and it did not ping. Okay, it didn't ping until 9 hours later, and when it pinged 9 hours later, it showed us that it was in the middle of a cornfield. So in the middle of this cornfield, this was again, the middle of Indiana. It's the only thing that's around is farms all over the place. Okay. And so in pulling up there, it was like a little house. I went there. This is early in the morning as well. But farm people are typically up early, so I figured that wouldn't be an issue. Ideally, you want to always ask for permission. You just want to step on someone's land, quote unquote. And so when asked for permission just to grab your device, and most of the time there would be no issue at all. Okay. And so here, walking through this cornfield to retrieve the device, I had satellite footage. I had also the pings from the different devices we had on it, so I knew where it was. And just so you all know, I'm walking over a quarter of a mile into this cornfield. Now, of course, this footage has also been cut up because otherwise you have to see me walking for 45 minutes to even get it, and then around 30 minutes walking back. So I don't want to put you all through all that, but you're going to see the majority of it all. And so as far as the most pertinent aspects of it, okay? So you can see just how wild this experience was. And so again, so around 11:30 p.m., we let the balloon go at around 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. It started to ping and notify all the different devices and what we have. That was around 11:30 p.m. that night. And so that morning at around 6:30 or so in the morning, I got up and drove a few hours away to the middle of Indiana to this cornfield to pick up the device. Okay, so as you're going to see here, the corn right now, it's going to be like a jungle here in a moment, all right, where you're not going to be able to see pretty much anywhere but up. Okay. So, of course, tons of bugs everywhere. For those who don't like that type of stuff, bugs are everywhere. Weird little animals walking around with some ducks flying here and there. Strange sounds from weird animals doing things. And so just walking. So if you look in the distance where you see those trees, like it look like a little forest area in the distance, that's close to where I'm going to be inside of the cornfield though, but that's close to where I will be at. So. And again, anyone here, if you are really enjoying this, if you have a comment or question that you have, or just like to ask, then you can type it out in the chat room, or you can call the number. I will repost the number in the chat room. You can, and if you call that number, or if you connect to the Zoom, then at that time, you can verbally ask a question or make a comment. So again, as you see on the screen, right. Okay, so as you see that now, I'm in the cornfield itself, but it's about to get higher and higher. And just so you know too, more than likely, of course, this is a GMO corn, right? So you got to be careful with that as well. And then because you could end up in kind of dangerous places. Also, your payload could potentially end up on an airport, or even more so, a restricted area. And if it does, your $1,000+ in equipment is just gone, okay, for the most part. So right now, what's happening, I am looking around. Again, this footage has been cut up quite a bit, but it's been many times I was just standing there kind of looking around because I'm in the middle of a cornfield. Even though I do have the coordinates of where it's at, still, it may be a few feet off in one direction or another. And you gotta take your time, you know, to make sure that you don't walk too far in one direction or another. So I stopped quite a bit, looking at the map that I have of the satellite footage, of the pings that are coming in, exactly the longitude and latitude of that ping. And then I'm checking that against my actual, this longitude latitude device that I carry on me that tells me exactly where I'm at. And so I'm looking at that. I'm verifying if I'm going in the right direction still, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so not only again GMO corn, going back to that statement there, but you know, chemicals are sprayed on this stuff. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're clothed. Okay, I was fully clothed. You know, had long sleeves on, of course, pants and stuff like that. You don't want to go into a field like this, or even a forest, if you're still in the forest, without protective gear on. Okay, now you see it's starting to get higher and higher, if you notice. So, yeah, at this point, the corn, I'm a tall man, so the corn at this point is starting to go over my head. Yep, as you see now, of course, it skipped ahead quite a bit. It's even higher now, and it's even more dense. And so what you also have to be careful of is that many farm fields, they spray from above, okay? Like literally they have planes that fly above and spray the field with chemicals and stuff. And so I was wary of all of that. And I wanted to make sure that I get in and get out as quickly as possible, because you most definitely don't want to get doused with directly with these harmful chemicals. So what you see here, of course, I'm looking at the map, I'm looking at my longitude, latitude device. I'm looking at the pings coming off the device, showing me its longitude, latitude, and I'm comparing, as well as I'm looking underneath here and seeing if, because I couldn't see, as you see, when I stand up, it's like a jungle, you can't see, okay? So I was also looking down to see if I could see a white box anywhere, and you couldn't see anything at all. I tell you all, this was crazy. All right, this was out the box. So Yeah. So going through, looking, where is it at? I'm like, where is it at? Where is it at? Because my main concern wasn't finding it. I knew I would find it. It was that I don't want to get doused with chemicals, and I don't want to be in this chemical-ridden field. Yep. So you see, you see, I'm still looking around, trying to see what's going on. There, I did find it. There it is, and I was commenting that everything. I was looking at it to make sure everything was there, and at least the box was in good condition. It was not fractured or broken, totally off or in any way. It was totally solid. Okay. Even of course, the balloon that bust, but it was still attached to it as well. The parachute, the radar deflector, and of course, everything inside the box was there. So I got it. Now I'm getting the heck out of Dodge, as they say. So you see, I'm getting the heck out of there quickly. Okay. Yep, so you see there, right now, I'm going back to my vehicle. Similar path, I thought at first that going down the line like here would be easier, but at the same time, I didn't want to walk through the cornfield for over a quarter of a mile. Okay, I didn't want this chemical corn touching me that entire time. Okay, and me just directly in it. So at a certain point, I said, no way, I'm not going to do that. Even though it would have been kind of easier than going through the corn, you know, cutting through the corn itself, I just decided to just cut through it anyway. Yep, so as you see there, I'm getting out of there. So what happens is I'm not stopping, I know where I'm going, but because it's going through all these plants, the box in the balloon kept getting caught on corn stalks. So I had to keep stopping and kind of unwrapping it and holding it a different way, because there were, the GoPros were all attached on this beam that was attached to the box, and it was like a carbon fiber beam, and so that beam, you know, I don't want to bend it or anything or try to break it, so it kept hitting and getting caught as well on the corn stalks. Yep, so as you see there, okay, so as you see me there, still going through it. Now I finally get out of it, and so now I'm walking back to the vehicle. And of course, had to take a ride back home, which took a few hours, okay, to get back. That's the end of the public footage for this evening. I hope that you enjoyed watching that experience, okay, and living that experience with me, and with, of course, Miss Blair and Mr. Blair. They're in the chat room right now on YouTube, and they said, this is extremely interesting. Glad I was a part of this project, okay? And so this was a very interesting, that's the understatement, you know, it was a very interesting experiment and experience. And so I hope that all of you did enjoy watching this footage as well. For those of you who have, you know who you are, who do contribute to the projects, who are always interacting with us in a positive way. There's going to be an event again in the future where we're going to go over footage that was not seen, okay, and what the implications are of what you will see yourself, okay. And of course, you're going to see HD 1080p 4K footage, okay, because the GoPros, most of them were at least in the 1080p mode. So yeah, so you'll see that. So stay tuned for that. Of course, on the screen right now, you see the GoFundMe. Right now, we're at 1,427. The goal is 25,000, and the reason it's 20, we only need really 20,000. But GoFundMe is going to take out fees. There's going to be fees to transfer. There's going to be just a bunch of fees and stuff. So because of that, we need to make sure we hit that 20K. I create many different devices. I'm about to show you something right now that will be released at the end of this month. I want to tell you all that before we get into any comments or questions before this expose is over. So let me show you something here, but nevertheless, it can get them interested into the different aspects of science. Again, science, technology, engineering, and math, which is STEM, okay? They can ask questions. They can, you know, of course, especially children tend to be very inquisitive. So they ask, what's that? What's this? What's that? What's that? What's this? What's that? That's totally fine. That's the whole point of it, okay? And they can learn, okay? Who knows what that would inspire for the future, okay? Everyone is welcome. Doesn't matter if you are tall, short, male, female, you know, one race or another. I don't care about any of that, okay? It's about progress. So with that, let me show you something here. Give me either in the next few weeks or maybe mid-September, okay? It's the project that we've been working on since around this time last year, okay? So around this time last year, and you're going to see it here in a moment, but let me describe what you're going to see, because I want to take a lot of time finding that picture of the 3D print. But nevertheless, we see all that's going on around us. We all do. And so let's say in a worst case scenario, like a grid down scenario, and cell phones don't work. You want some way to communicate with yourself, or with the people who in your immediate vicinity, okay, maybe, or maybe even just know where people are at. Well, this device that we have created, it would do two things. First, it has a GPS beacon on it, okay? So a GPS beacon is always broadcasting, okay? So you have to have an Android app. So let's say let's say it was 4 of you all. All of you all have to have an Android app. All of you all will have to have one of these devices. And so on that Android app, you'll be able to see a map of where each person who has a device is located at. But not only that, through the, you can send pretty much text messages to each other. It can't be picture messages, it can't be video messages, you can't call, but you can send text messages to each other, okay? As well as know each other's location. So in a grid down scenario where, yeah, yes, you can have walkie-talkies as well, but it could be as a backup, or it could be just for the GPS feature. We've been soldering these things for months, okay? So I have about 30 of them done right now. I'm just waiting for the 3D prints to get done so we can put them together, and that's it. The people who will get first access to these will be those who contributed to the project, of course. Okay, so people who contribute to Project Etheric, you will get first access to these devices. And not only that, now it's not even just a grid down scenario. Let's say that you're just out recreationally with your family, with friends, you're out hiking, something like that, and each person has a device on them. You can see on a map where they're at, okay? And as well as if it came down to it, let's say if they're a distance away, you can send text messages to each other and so forth, because you remember cell phones are not going to work, especially if you out hiking out in Yellowstone Park or some of these other, the Ozarks and stuff like that. You're not going to be able to be on a cell phone. It's not going to happen. Okay. But as long as you have line of sight, it's almost instantaneous text messaging. If it's not line of sight, then it just depends when a ping can get through, okay? Which could take 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, it just depends, okay? But these are off-grid devices that have been created, okay, for the community, okay? So there's a lot of big things happening behind the scenes that hopefully you will be a part of and co-create.
This enchanted lullaby.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is, and each person should find that truth out for his or herself.
This enchanted lullaby. This enchanted lullaby.
You know what? Global family, look in the mirror. I want you to take a good look. You are the champion, the hero of your story. No matter how much praise you may give some of us who may help you on this journey, it is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Tony, again, I give you accolades for, I don't even know what to say, for all the efforts, man, that you put in my behalf.
There is no truth until you decide what truth is.
It is you who has to walk it. We are only a catalyst to help you see.
Person should find that truth out for his or herself.
To help you see.
For his or herself.